The first snowfall of winter descended on the Cascade Mountains like a whisper, soft and unexpected. Olivia Reed pulled her weathered Jeep to the side of the narrow forest road and killed the engine. The silence that followed was complete, the kind only found in places where civilization thinned to nothing against the wild. "Well, this is just perfect," she muttered, watching fat snowflakes accumulate on her windshield. Her GPS had lost signal 20 minutes ago, and now the road ahead disappeared into a wall of white. The ranger station where she was supposed to check in before starting her wolf monitoring project was supposedly just 8 miles ahead, but in these conditions, it might as well have been on another planet. Olivia tucked a strand of auburn hair behind her ear and considered her options. A biologist with the Pacific Northwest Wildlife Conservation Society, she had spent years studying predator populations in remote areas, but even she knew better than to attempt navigating an unfamiliar mountain pass during a snowstorm. She reached for her satellite phone, only to find its battery mysteriously drained. "Of course," she sighed, resting her forehead against the steering wheel. The sudden tap on her window nearly launched her through the roof. Olivia spun to find herself staring into the most intensely blue eyes she'd ever seen, set in a face weathered by sun and wind, partially obscured by a dark beard flecked with premature silver. The stranger gestured for her to roll down her window. Cautiously, she cracked it an inch. "Can I help you?" The man's expression remained impassive. "You're heading to Whispering Pine Station?" "Yes." "How did you passed my cabin about a mile back. Nobody comes up this road this time of year except rangers and researchers." His voice was deep but quiet, as if he'd grown unaccustomed to using it. "Storm's getting worse. You won't make it to the station tonight." Olivia straightened her spine. "I appreciate the concern, but I need to get there. My equipment will be useless if you're buried in a snowdrift." The man glanced up at the darkening sky. "I have a radio at my place. Can call the station. Let them know you're delayed." Something about his clipped sentences and the way he avoided direct eye contact told her he wasn't comfortable with this interaction. That made 2 of them. "I don't make a habit of following strangers to their cabins in the woods," she said. The ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Wise policy. I'm Theo Blackwood. I guide for the Forest Service occasionally. Ranger Sullivan can vouch for me if we can reach him." Olivia weighed her options as the snow fell more heavily. Her research grant had strict timelines, but no data was worth freezing to death over. "I'm Dr. Olivia Reed," she finally said. "Let me grab my pack." The walk to his cabin was arduous, with snow already ankle-deep. Theo moved ahead of her with the sure-footedness of someone who knew every root and rock beneath the white blanket. He carried her heaviest bag despite her protests, his breath making small clouds in the freezing air. The cabin emerged from the trees like something from a forgotten fairy tale, sturdy logs darkened by years of weather, a stone chimney puffing wood smoke. Not what she expected. While rustic, it was well-maintained, with solar panels visible on one section of the roof. Inside was equally surprising, clean and organized, with books lining one wall and detailed topographical maps on another. A large wooden table held what looked like intricate wildlife carvings in various stages of completion. "You can hang your coat there," Theo said, gesturing to hooks by the door as he stoked the fire. "Radio's temperamental in storms, but we'll try." As warmth slowly returned to her fingers, Olivia studied her reluctant host. There was something both familiar and alien about Theo Blackwood, like he belonged to this wilderness in a way few humans ever could. "How long have you lived up here?" she asked. Theo's hands paused momentarily as he adjusted the radio dials. 7 years. "Alone?" His eyes met hers briefly, something unreadable flickering in their depths. "The wolves keep me company." He turned his attention back to the radio. "Speaking of which, I hear you're here to count them." "Study them," Olivia corrected. There's been concerning population decline in the northern Cascade Pack. I'm monitoring their movements, health indicators, trying to determine what's happening. For the first time, genuine interest animated his features. The northern pack crossed near here last week. 5 adults, 2 juveniles, down from 12 last year. Olivia leaned forward. You've been tracking them? I observe. Nothing formal. The radio crackled to life before she could press further, and Theo explained their situation to a relieved Ranger Sullivan, who confirmed both Theo's identity and the impossibility of reaching the station until the storm passed. Looks like you're stuck with me, Dr. Reed, Theo said after signing off, at least until tomorrow. As night deepened around the isolated cabin and the storm howled outside, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that this unexpected detour, this enigmatic man with sad eyes who carved wolves from wood and tracked them through snow, might alter the course of her carefully planned research in ways she couldn't yet imagine. Morning arrived with blinding brilliance, sunlight refracting off fresh snow like scattered diamonds. Olivia woke on Theo's worn leather couch to find the cabin empty, but for a note beside a steaming mug of coffee. Gone to check the road. Back soon. She cradled the warm mug between her hands, using the solitude to properly examine her surroundings. Daylight revealed what darkness had hidden. Photographs tucked between books, their edges worn from handling. Unable to resist, Olivia approached the bookshelf. One photo showed a younger, smiling Theo in a National Park Service uniform beside a dark-haired woman with kind eyes. Another captured him with a team of rangers, all wearing expressions of tired triumph. Awards and certificates had been tucked away behind books, as if he couldn't bear to display them but couldn't quite discard them either. The door opened with a gust of cold air, and Olivia stepped back guiltily. Road's clear enough, Theo said, brushing snow from his jacket. I can get you to the station in my truck. She gestured vaguely at the bookshelf. Looking for my secrets? His tone remained neutral, but something in his posture stiffened. I'm sorry. Professional hazard. I observe things. She set down her mug. You were with the Park Service? Theo hung his coat with deliberate care. Wildlife biologist like you. Yellowstone Wolf Reintroduction Program. That's... Olivia's eyes widened. Wait! Theodore Blackwood, you published that groundbreaking paper on pack dynamics during territory expansion. Lifetime ago. He turned away, checking his watch. We should go. What happened? The question escaped before she could reconsider. The silence stretched long, enough that Olivia thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice had roughened. My wife, Julianne. She was a conservation photographer. We were tracking a new pack through the backcountry when a freak storm hit. His hands clenched at his sides. I told her we needed to turn back. She wanted just one more shot of the alpha pair. Olivia's heart sank. Theo, I'm so sorry. Found her 3 days later. Hypothermia. His eyes fixed on some middle distance. The cameras survived, memory cards intact. Great fucking irony. She got her shot. The bitterness in his voice cut through. The cabin's warmth. After that, I couldn't... He shook his head. The wolves weren't to blame, but every time I saw them, I remembered. So I left. Came here. Different wolves, different mountains, but you still track them, Olivia observed quietly. Theo's gaze finally met hers. Some habits you can't break. Some you don't want to. At the ranger station later that morning, Olivia met her research assistant, a bright-eyed graduate student named Phoebe Chen, who'd arrived the previous day. As they unpacked equipment, Ranger Sullivan pulled Olivia aside. Blackwood actually offered to help you? Sullivan's eyebrows climbed toward his hairline. That's unexpected. Man barely speaks to the seasonal staff, let alone volunteers' information. I get the impression he cares about the wolves, Olivia replied. Oh, he cares, all right. Probably knows more about the local packs than anyone, just doesn't usually share. That afternoon, as Olivia and Phoebe struggled to set up monitoring stations in the deep snow, a familiar figure emerged from the trees. "You're placing it too close to the game trail," Theo said, nodding toward the camera trap in Phoebe's hands. "They'll sense it. Try the western ridge instead. Better vantage point, less human scent." Phoebe looked to Olivia, who nodded. "Let's try it." For 3 days, Theo appeared like this, materializing from the forest to offer terse but invaluable advice before disappearing again. On the 4th day, Olivia tracked him to his workshop behind the cabin. "Either join us officially or stop. Haunting our research sites," she said from the doorway. Theo looked up from the wolf carving taking shape beneath his hands. "Excuse me?" "I'm offering you a consultant position. Paid. We need someone who knows these wolves, these mountains." She stepped closer. "And I think you need to stop hiding from the work you love." "You don't know what I need." His knife stilled against the wood. "I know grief when I see it, Theo. My father died tracking mountain lions in Colorado. I was 19. She met his gaze steadily. "I finished his research. It didn't bring him back, but it mattered." The silence between them hummed with unspoken things. "The northern pack has been poisoned," he finally said. "Not all of them, not enough to be obvious, but it's happening. I've found dead elk with suspicious residue. Been documenting it, but haven't had proof worth bringing to authorities." Olivia's breath caught. "That's exactly what we're here to investigate. Why didn't you? Because last time I brought concerns to the Forest Service, nothing happened." His eyes hardened. "Someone local has powerful friends. Evidence disappeared." "This time will be different," Olivia said with more confidence than she felt. "This time you have me." Something shifted in Theo's expression, skepticism giving way to something that might have been hope. "I work alone," he said, but his tone had softened. Olivia gestured to the half-finished wolf in his hands. "Not always, I think." That evening, as snow began to fall again outside his cabin window, Theo signed the consultant paperwork. His fingers brushed against hers as he handed back the pen. And for the briefest moment, Olivia glimpsed not just the scientist he'd been or the recluse he'd become, but the man caught somewhere in between, trying, despite everything, to find his way back. February in the Cascades proved merciless. Storms rolled through the mountains like angry gods, leaving the research team snowbound at the ranger station for days at a time. During these enforced pauses, Olivia noticed Theo gradually emerging from his shell, sharing meals at the common table, contributing to discussions, even smiling occasionally at Phoebe's enthusiastic theories. "Our data shows definite evidence of toxicity," Olivia announced one evening, spreading maps across the table. 3 wolves showing liver damage consistent with rodenticide exposure. But why target wolves? Phoebe wondered. Ranchers would use more direct methods. "It's not about wolves," Theo said quietly. Everyone turned to him. "It's about land. Poisoned predators means failed conservation efforts. Failed conservation means development restrictions can be challenged." Ranger Sullivan nodded grimly. "Blackwoods, right? There's a resort developer been eyeing the North Valley for years. Carson Holdings." "We need more evidence," Olivia said. "And we need healthy wolves to compare against the affected ones." Theo traced a finger along the map. "There's a secondary pack in the high country. Harder to reach, especially now, but they should be unaffected." "The snowpack's too unstable," Sullivan warned. "Another storm's coming in 2 days." "Which gives us a narrow window," Theo countered. "I know a route. 1 day up, samples collected by morning, back down before the storm hits." Olivia studied his face. "You're proposing we go?" "Just us. Smaller team, faster movement." That night, as they packed specialized equipment, Olivia sensed something had shifted between them. Theo's usual guardedness had given way to focused determination. This mission mattered to him in a way that transcended professional interest. They set out at dawn, snowshoeing through pristine wilderness. Theo moved with quiet confidence, setting a pace that was demanding but sustainable. By midday, they'd climbed above the tree line, where wind-sculpted snow formations stretched toward a crystalline sky. "We should reach the high valley by dusk," Theo said during a brief rest. "There's an old fire watcher's cabin we can use for the night." Olivia nodded, taking a sip from her insulated water bottle. "You've done this before. This exact trip." It wasn't a question, but Theo answered anyway. "After Julianne, when I first came here, I needed—" He paused, searching for words. Space that hadn't been touched by what happened. Did it help? Not at first. His eyes met hers, their blue startling against the white landscape. But eventually, yes. The mountains don't care about your grief. They just are. There's comfort in that. They continued in companionable silence until a distant howl froze them in place. "That's them," Theo whispered, his face transformed by sudden joy. "The Highland Pack." The howl came again, answered by others, a chorus echoing across the valleys. Without thinking, Olivia reached for Theo's gloved hand. He didn't pull away. "This is why you stay," she said softly. "Not just to be alone, to be with them." "They saved me," he admitted, when nothing else could. The moment shattered as a deafening crack split the air. Olivia felt the mountain shift beneath her feet before she understood what was happening. Theo's expression changed to horror. "Avalanche! Run!" He shoved her toward a rocky outcropping as the world dissolved into thunderous motion. Olivia lunged for safety, turning back just in time to see Theo caught by the edge of the cascading snow. He disappeared from view as the avalanche roared past. "Theo!" Her scream was swallowed by the mountain's fury. When silence finally returned, Olivia stood trembling at the edge of a transformed landscape. Where they had walked minutes before, a chaotic field of snow now stretched downslope. Frantically, she activated her emergency beacon and assembled her avalanche probe from her pack. "I'm coming, Theo," she whispered, beginning the methodical search pattern her training demanded. "Hold on!" Minutes stretched like hours until her probe met resistance that wasn't rock or ice. Dropping to her knees, Olivia dug with desperate energy until she uncovered Theo's face, eyes closed, but lips tinged blue. "Please," she begged, clearing his airway and checking for breath. Finding none, she began CPR, counting compressions through, tears that froze on her cheeks. On the 37th compression, Theo gasped. His eyes flew open, disoriented, but alive. "The wolves!" he choked out. "Forget the wolves," Olivia sobbed, cradling his face between her hands. "You nearly died." "Sample kit. In my pack." His breathing was labored but determined. "We need the evidence. We need to get you down the mountain," she countered. His hand found hers, grip surprisingly strong. "Both. We do both." Somehow they made it to the fire watcher's cabin. Theo leaning heavily on Olivia, each step a battle against pain and exhaustion. Inside, she helped him out of wet clothing and into a sleeping bag before lighting the small stove. As color returned to his face, Theo watched her methodically checking his ribs for fractures. "You should have left me." "That was never an option," she replied fiercely. "The old me would have left," he said so quietly she almost didn't hear. "After Julianne, I became someone who walks away." Olivia's hand stilled against his chest, where his heart beat steadily beneath her fingers. "But you didn't walk away from the wolves, or from this fight." "No," he agreed, reaching up to brush a strand of hair from her face. "And I won't walk away from you." The confession hung between them, fragile as breath in cold air. Outside, Wolves howled again, closer now, as if drawn by some ancient recognition of kindred spirits. Olivia leaned down until her forehead rested against his. "Good," she whispered, "because I'm not walking away either." Their kiss tasted of survival and promise, tentative at first, then deepening as walls built by grief began to crumble. When they finally separated, both breathless, the cabin seemed warmer, the howling wolves a benediction. "We'll get the samples at first light," Theo murmured, his fingers intertwined with hers. "Together." "Together," Olivia agreed, realizing the word now carried weight beyond this mission, beyond these mountains, extending into a future neither had dared imagine until this moment. Spring arrived in the Cascades with relentless determination, melting away months of snow to reveal meadows studded with wildflowers. The transformation of the landscape mirrored the change in Theo, the man, who once shunned company, now sat beside Olivia at community meetings, his quiet presence lending weight to their findings. "The evidence is conclusive," Olivia explained to the assembled Forest Service officials, pointing to her presentation slides. "Samples from the Highland Pack show no contamination, while the Northern Pack shows clear signs of rodenticide poisoning. The toxin signatures match chemicals found at these 3 sites. The map highlighted locations that formed a perimeter around land owned by Carson Holdings. We believe someone is deliberately creating a buffer zone of poisoned wildlife," she continued. "If predator populations collapse, the conservation easements become vulnerable to challenge." From the back of the room, a man in an expensive suit rose. "That's a serious accusation, Dr. Reed. Carson Holdings has always maintained the highest environmental standards." "Mr. Carson," Ranger Sullivan acknowledged with barely concealed disdain. "Didn't realize you'd be joining us today. When I heard wildlife biologists were making potentially libelous claims about land near our development interests, I made it a priority." Carson's smile never reached his eyes. "Perhaps if Dr. Reed shared her raw data, we could have our own scientists verify these concerning findings." "The data will be published through proper channels," Olivia replied coolly. "Of course." Carson nodded, then turned his attention to Theo. "Mr. Blackwood, isn't it? I believe we've met before. Didn't you approach my company with similar accusations 2 years ago?" Theo tensed beside her. "I did. And our investigation found nothing," Carson continued smoothly. "Just as I suspect a proper review will find nothing now, though I understand your personal history might color your scientific objectivity." The implication hung in the air, poisonous as the chemicals they'd documented. Olivia felt Theo withdraw emotionally, his expression hardening into the mask she hadn't seen in months. Outside after the meeting, Theo walked ahead of her, shoulders rigid with tension. "What did he mean about your personal history?" Olivia asked, hurrying to catch up. "Nothing. Theo, don't shut me out, not now." He stopped, turning to face her with eyes gone cold. Carson Holdings owned the resort development near where Julianne died. Their expanded snowmobile tours had just opened in that area, despite warnings about route safety. Olivia's heart sank. "You never told me." "Because it wasn't relevant to this research." "Of course it's relevant. You've been pursuing this company for years. You let me think we discovered this issue together, but you've been building this case long before I arrived." The betrayal stung unexpectedly sharp. "Were you using my credentials to legitimize your vendetta?" "This isn't about revenge," Theo snapped. "The wolves are being poisoned. That's fact, not emotion." "But you kept this from me. What else haven't? You shared?" She stepped closer, searching his face. "Carson made it sound like your previous accusations were dismissed. Because he buried the evidence. Just like he's trying to do now. Or because you were seeing connections that weren't there," Olivia suggested quietly. "Grief can distort perception, Theo. I've been there." His expression shuddered completely. So you believe him over me? That's not what I said. You didn't have to. He turned away. I'll finish documenting the Highland Pack alone. You focus on your report. For 2 weeks, they orbited each other in painful silence. Olivia threw herself into analyzing data, while Theo disappeared into the mountains. For days at a time, Phoebe watched their estrangement with worried eyes but knew better than to interfere. Then the laboratory results from their final samples arrived, and Olivia felt the ground shift beneath her feet. These readings are inconsistent with our earlier findings, she told Phoebe, spreading papers across their workstation. The toxin signature is similar but not identical, and the concentration is much higher. Could the poisoning have escalated? Phoebe suggested. Or, Olivia hesitated, the thought too terrible to voice. Or some of our samples could have been contaminated deliberately. That evening, she found herself driving the familiar road to Theo's cabin, conflict churning in her stomach. He met her at the door, his expression guarded. I need to ask you something, she said without preamble, and I need the absolute truth. Always, he replied, the single word carrying a weight of hurt. Did you alter any of our samples to strengthen the case? Against Carson? Theo's face drained of color. You think I would compromise scientific integrity? Fabricate evidence? I don't want to think it, Olivia whispered. But the new results show inconsistencies that are hard to explain otherwise. Get out. His voice was deadly quiet. Theo, you've made your position clear, Dr. Reed. Professional integrity matters to you more than trust, more than us. His hands trembled slightly as he stepped back. So yes, please leave. Driving away, Olivia watched his solitary figure in her rearview mirror until the trees swallowed him from view. The distance between them now seemed vaster than any mountain range, a chasm formed not of rock and ice, but of broken faith and wounded hearts. Back at her temporary housing near the ranger station, Olivia spread the data before her once more, searching for answers that made sense. Dawn found her still there, eyes red-rimmed, but mind finally clear. The variation in toxin signatures, she murmured to herself. It's not inconsistency, it's evolution. She grabbed her phone, typing rapidly to colleagues at the university lab. The response came within hours, confirming her suspicion. The poison was degrading naturally in the environment, creating signature changes that initially appeared suspicious. Her relief was short-lived. As she prepared to drive to Theo's cabin to apologize, Ranger Sullivan burst in. There's been a fire at Blackwood's place, he said breathlessly. He's okay, but he's claiming it was deliberate. Olivia felt the blood drain from her face. Carson? No. Proof of that, Sullivan cautioned. But I thought you should know. Theo's left, packed what he could salvage and headed into the high country. Said he needs space to reconsider his priorities. The words struck Olivia like physical blows. Space, priorities, the vocabulary of endings. He left a letter for you, Sullivan added, holding out an envelope smudged with ash. Inside was a single page, Theo's familiar handwriting rendered shaky by emotion or haste. I understand now why I've spent 7 years alone. Some wounds don't heal just because you wish them to. I'm sorry I let you believe otherwise. Olivia pressed the paper to her chest, feeling something precious slipping through her fingers like water, impossible to hold, impossible to live without. Summer painted the Cascades in impossible greens, the mountains shedding their white mantles, to reveal verdant slopes alive with wildflowers and birdsong. Olivia's research period had officially ended weeks ago, but she remained unable to leave without resolution, both for the wolves and for her heart. The case against Carson Holdings had gained traction, with state environmental authorities launching a formal investigation. Evidence collected by Olivia's team, combined with historical data meticulously gathered by Theo over years, painted a damning picture that even Carson's expensive lawyers couldn't easily dismiss. But the victory felt hollow with Theo gone. Phoebe, preparing to return to graduate school, placed a gentle hand on Olivia's shoulder. The Highland Pack has moved their den site. New locations been logged in the database. Olivia nodded absently, her attention caught by the coordinates. That's near the Fire Watcher's cabin. Where you and Theo? Phoebe let the sentence hang. Delicately. Yes. Olivia traced the map with her fingertip. Have there been any sightings of him? Sullivan says hikers reported a man matching his description near Crystal Lake last week. Phoebe hesitated. The university wants to know if you're accepting that teaching position for fall semester. I need more time, Olivia replied, her decision crystallizing even as she spoke. Tell them I'll be there for spring term instead. That evening, Olivia packed her research gear one last time. If she couldn't find Theo, she would at least complete what they'd started, documenting the Highland Pack's recovery and seasonal movements. Science had brought them together. Perhaps it could lead her back to him. The hike to the high country was arduous but familiar now, every switchback and stream crossing holding memories. Olivia moved efficiently, reaching the Fire Watcher's cabin as dusk gathered. No smoke rose. From its chimney, no footprints marked the path. Hope, sustained for so long, began to waver. Inside, she lit the small stove and spread her sleeping bag in the corner where they had once huddled together, saving each other from more than just the cold. Sleep came fitfully, haunted by dreams of wolves running through endless forests, always just beyond reach. Dawn broke with the distinctive howl of a wolf, close, perhaps watching from the ridge above. Olivia dressed quickly and grabbed her binoculars, stepping outside into crisp mountain air. The howl came again, drawing her upslope through meadows beaded with dew. She found the wolf unexpectedly, a silver-gray female standing calmly on a rocky outcropping, observing her with intelligent eyes. Olivia recognized her as the Highland. Pax Alpha, distinguished by a unique facial marking. "Hello, beautiful," she whispered, maintaining a respectful distance while lifting her camera. "She remembers you?" The voice froze her in place, not because it was unexpected, but because she'd heard it every night in dreams for weeks. Theo emerged from the trees, leaner than before, his beard trimmed short, eyes clear in the morning light. He wore his old field jacket patched in places, where flames had damaged it. "She remembers the scent of the person who helped save her pack," he continued, stopping several feet away. "Wolves don't forget." "Neither do I," Olivia replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "I owe you an apology," Theo said. "Several, actually." "You don't." "I do." His gaze held hers unwavering. "I've spent my life believing that loss defines us, that once broken, we remain broken. It made sense to me because staying broken was easier than risking repair." The wolf watched them both, head tilted slightly as if following their conversation. "When you questioned the samples, I felt betrayed," Theo continued. "But later, alone again, I realized something crucial. You were doing exactly what a good scientist should. Questioning, verifying, seeking truth above comfort." "I should have trusted you," Olivia whispered. "And I should have trusted that your questions came from integrity, not doubt." He took a cautious step closer. "Carson's company is facing criminal charges. Sullivan told me when I went down for supplies last week." "We won," Olivia said, the victory still feeling incomplete. "The wolves won," Theo corrected gently. "We just helped tell their story." A comfortable silence settled between them, filled with the soft sounds of the wilderness. Wind through pine needles, distant bird song, the retreating footfalls of the wolf returning to her pack. "I've been tracking the Highland Pack's expansion," Theo finally said. "They've claimed new territory, established 2 successful dens, life continuing despite everything." Olivia nodded, understanding the parallel he was drawing. Resilience. More than that. Theo closed the distance between them until they stood face to face. Transformation. They've become something new without forgetting what they were. His hand reached for hers, tentative but determined. Olivia laced her fingers through his, feeling the calluses and scars that told his story. "I don't want to be alone anymore," he confessed, voice rough with emotion. "I tried to convince myself it was enough, the wolves, the mountains, the solitude. But after knowing what it means to share this life, to share discovery and purpose and—" He swallowed hard. "Love. I can't go back." "Then don't," Olivia said simply, her free hand rising to touch his face. "The university offered me a teaching position. 3 courses a year, with research time built in. I'd need a field partner for the summer work." Hope dawned in his eyes. "Here, wherever the research takes us. But yes, we could base here." She smiled. "Your cabin needs rebuilding. Anyway, our cabin," Theo corrected, drawing her closer. "If you want." Instead of answering with words, Olivia kissed him, a promise sealed beneath vast skies where wolves ran free and broken things found ways to become whole again. That evening, they sat together on the cabin's porch, watching alpenglow paint the distant peaks in shades of rose and gold. From the valley below, the Highland Pack began their twilight chorus, voices rising in harmony to claim their territory and celebrate their connection. "Listen," Theo whispered, his arm warm around Olivia's shoulders. "They're singing for us." Olivia rested her head against him, feeling the steady rhythm of his heart beneath her ear. "For second chances," she amended softly. As darkness gathered and stars emerged like scattered diamonds above the mountains, their future unfurled before them. Not perfect or guaranteed, but alive with possibility. Like the wilderness they both loved, it would demand respect, nurturing, and occasional courage. But also, like the wilderness, it offered rewards beyond measure for those willing to venture into its depths. The wolves sang on, their ancient music, echoing across valleys and ridgelines, a symphony of resilience, of cycles completed and renewed, of love that, once found, could never truly be lost again.